what I love to do, direct to patient care, talking to patients, started to diminish in time. So
Mm,
computer comes in, I have to do more documentation, more computer work, more paperwork,
yeah.
more, put on hold by insurance company to get permission to give certain medications. So I became more disillusioned in
Mm,
healthcare and also kind of burned out because I couldn't do what I wanted to do and less patient interaction. If I have to choose between full time and nothing, I think I'm gonna take nothing and be free, and I'll do
mm.
whatever I can do. I had no idea how I was going to do it, but that's when I kind of jumped off the cliff, and see what happens.
Namaste. Designing your life your way sometimes means leaping into a bold new direction. And today's guest did just that. Her name is Edi Matsumoto, and she's a former nurse practitioner who traded 30 years in healthcare to reinvent herself as an artist, and a quite unique artist at that. Her Otter Therapy, which are playful masterpieces reimagined as otters, has gained national attention for its uplifting, healing spirit. And she became a full time artist in 2021 and now has her own gallery in Carmel by the Sea in California. And she did that in 2024. So I know you're gonna love when I bring her on because you can see a couple of her adorable pictures right behind her. So I'm going to bring her up onto the stage right now and welcome you, Edi, to our show.
Hi, thank you, Grace. Yeah, love to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
Well, I'm delighted. Ever since I met you, I was like, oh, you're like the perfect person to have on the show as an example for what is possible when you decide to design your life your way. So
Hmm.
I thought, we might as well start back at the beginning. And
Okay.
we're 30 years in healthcare as a nurse practitioner. So take us back to maybe a moment or the season or something when you kind of first felt like that chapter of your life was closing. What was going on inside of you? What were you thinking about? What was coming up for you?
Okay, so let me take you back from the moment I decided to go into healthcare and then the moment I decided to leave.
Oh, okay. All right.
Okay, so
Awesome.
if you don't mind, yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
so I read a book about Mother Teresa when I was in high school. So I thought she was the coolest person I read about. She just did what she wanted to do. She designed her life, that way. So I thought she's so cool. So I wanted to meet her. So fast forward. After college, I went to India to meet her, and I volunteered at her home for dying destitute, where she picked up, people from the street, untouchables in India, and these are people lived and dying on the street. So she picked them up and put them in that secure place and gave them medical care. And so I volunteered there. Anybody can volunteer. And so I tried to do whatever I can do, but all I could do was feed the people or maybe dry after their bath. So I couldn't do much. And on the side, I'm seeing all the doctors and nurse volunteers doing all of them giving medications, starting an IV or dressing the wound. So that's when I thought, I wish I could do that. So that prompted me to come to the US. I'm originally from Japan. And that's when I decided to come to the US, study English, study nursing medicine, and went to nursing school. And I got my nurse practitioner certificate uh, program. And then, then I was happily doing nurse practitioner, nursing thing, almost 30 years in healthcare, hospitals and clinics. And but over time, I started to notice something was different in healthcare. What I love to do, direct to patient care, talking to patients, started to diminish in time. So
Mm,
computer comes in, I have to do more documentation, more computer work, more paperwork,
yeah.
more put on hold by insurance company to get permission to give certain medications. So I became more disillusioned in
Mm.
healthcare, and also kind of burned out because I couldn't do what I wanted to do, and less patient interaction. So,
Mm.
and then at one point, and then I started to paint a little bit, maybe about 15 years before I retired, as a hobby, personal enrichment. Then that kind of grew into a passion of mine, and also I think it kind of helping me balancing the work life balance. And then at one point in 2021, the hospital said, I know you cut back so you can do more art, but we really want you to be back full time because we really appreciate your work, and we need you back in full time. And they kind of forced me to go back to full time. So that's when I said, you know, I came too far. I love my 3 days off, and I was painting. I just love that part. I just could not give up. So if I have to choose between full time and nothing, I think I'm gonna take nothing and be free, and I'll do
Mm.
whatever I can do. I had no idea how I was going to do it, but that's when I kind of jumped off the cliff and see what happens.
I, I like that, and it is interesting sometimes that when we are sort of caught in that, what do we kind of do stage? You're loving this. I mean, and I'm sure you still loved taking care of people, obviously, because you wouldn't have stayed in that profession for so long. But sometimes the universe kind of gives you a little signal, and this was a little invitation, like, well, yeah, we want you to work full time, and you're like, I don't, yeah, that's not really calling me anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So I get that because I know I had something like that. Well, oh, I know what it was. It was I was I was mulling starting my own business and becoming a copywriter, and I was working part time for the television station I used to work full time for, and they
Oh.
actually said, instead of wanting me full time, they were like, "We actually don't need you anymore." And I was like,
Oh.
because it was the work I was doing, it was like, we're going to do it in house. We don't, because I wasn't living and working full time in the television station anymore. I'd moved away,
Mm-hmm.
so I was doing everything online. I was like, okay, well, I guess that's my signal to make a go
Mm-hmm.
in the business.
Yeah, definitely. The universe gives me signals all the time. So
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah, I love that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so, you said though that you were doing this as a hobby
Mm-hmm.
originally. So, I mean, and now that you've decided, okay, so you're retired from nursing, what was there any kind of like a shift where you said, well, maybe I actually want to do maybe not just as a hobby, but because eventually you've got your own gallery, you've got a book that you did as well. So what happened to kind of have you go from that next level?
Let's see. So, becoming an artist was not in my life's picture at all. Um, until more recently. But I had a little sketch. My whole mother's side is very artistic. So I grew up in
Mm.
that environment. My mom can do a sketch. My uncle can make all kinds of things. My sister is a cartoonist. So I grew up in that environment. So being able to draw very clever cat, dog building, it was normal in my family. So I did that at some point, and then but I didn't take it very seriously. Just kind of something I do in my pastime sometimes. But my husband saw one of my drawing that I did in Paris when I was vacationing in Paris when I was in college, and then when we got together, I just showed it to him, and then tossed in trash, literally, because I thought it's just an older piece of paper, and then I just showed it to my husband. He liked it, but I tossed it in the garbage, and he said, "What are you doing?" And so I said, "Well, it's just an older piece of paper." But my husband said, "No, that's amazing art. You have talent, and you have to do something about your talent. We're going to frame this drawing, and you need to go to art school." So I was like, "Really? Is it that good?" So I didn't know that it was that good in his eyes. So, okay, I'll just, give it a shot. And because I have a nurse practitioner job, very stable, I don't have to go to school anymore. So maybe I can take some classes. So that's how it started. And then, so the first maybe 10 years, I was taking one class at a time per
Mm-hmm.
semester, and it was fun. And then after Japan had a big tsunami,
Yeah.
and then so I thought, oh, maybe I can use my art to do something about it. So I did a
Mm-hmm.
fundraiser, and I invited all the friends to our house, and I sold a lot of things, and I had no
Ah.
idea. So first I was thinking, oh, people are so nice; they just want to give me money to send to Japan. But then it just kind of planted a seed. I could
Mm-hmm.
sell my art, and people like it. And then so that's sort of the very beginning of selling some art. And then I got involved in the healthcare professionals burnout issue. So towards the end of my healthcare career, it just wasn't myself, but I saw my husband being burned out really badly, really depressed, and I saw my other colleagues, they're so depressed and so behind in computer charting. And so I just seen those trends, and that's when the national Academy of Medicine, so a group of clinicians, started this initiative to prevent clinicians' burnout and promote well-being. And they were collecting art related to healthcare. And I happened to have a series of healthcare professionals' portraits. And some are kind of professional portraits, but the others I really wanted to paint was a realistic portraits of physicians and nurses. So some of them are kind of holding their head, depressed, and looking very frustrated, exhausted. So that seemed to fit perfectly into this movement. And
Right.
so to promote healthcare clinicians' well-being, so they can put it out there. So the message was, you're not alone. A lot of healthcare people thinks that if they're depressed, incompetent, they are considered incompetent. So
Yeah.
they couldn't come out to say, I'm not feeling good. Can I get some
Right.
antidepressant? They couldn't do that. But if we put out those pictures out there, people think, oh, I'm not alone. Other
Mm.
clinicians are also depressed and having a hard time. So that's when I got more serious about art, and I discovered the power of healing. The art has a healing power, and also humor has a healing power, of course. And
Yes.
that's when I got to be more serious, and then my art got more attention because of that. So that's when I started to think there might be a future in my art.
Mm.
But I would have stayed in the hospital until retirement, until that incident happened, the conversation with my boss. And so the universe kind of kicked my butt. It's time, do something about your art. So I'm very thankful that that happened.
Oh, we are too. The world is glad that happened too, and I do think it's so. Um, it was so important, and that you were able to be able to help healthcare professionals, because they definitely, that's not an easy job. It's certainly not a job I would ever want. And and especially, as you talked about at the beginning, when you talked about the pressures from like insurance companies, and all of this now is not making our system very very friendly. It's more getting to be just more a numbers game, instead of the interaction with people, where that it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be a healer, of relationship with a patient, and not getting so caught up in selling drugs and everything else that they have to do, pharmaceuticals and all this stuff. So I'm glad that you were able to provide these realistic portraits to help that organization. That's so good.
Mhm.
So, but I'm sure people are, especially those of you who are fortunate enough to be watching the podcast and you're listening to it, you need to go watch this, because it's you're gonna appreciate her art so much more. Um, Otter Therapy. So it's a very specific, joyful concept. How did you land on that? Where did the idea come from for that? And maybe also then explain to our audience, especially for those who are listening to the podcast, what exactly, I know I mentioned it briefly in the intro, but what exactly are you doing?
Okay, so the journey into Otter Therapy. So I resigned from the hospital, and the first couple of years, I struggled because I was not a professional artist. I didn't know anything about business, marketing, or sales. I was a nurse, kind of clocking in, clocking out, getting a paycheck every 2 weeks from the hospital. So this is a totally new concept to have a business trying to sell my own art. So I was living on my saving for a couple of years, and also I was not selling. The healthcare professionals' portraits are admired, and I help with this organization and the movement, but it's not something that you want to put it in your living room and look at it every day because it's kind of a depressed doctor's face. So I wasn't selling art, so I was looking for niche, and I am one of those people who are always into self-improvement. Probably you too, Grace. And I had a bunch of coaches in business, like a business coach, marketing coach, mindset coach, art business coach, not all at the same time. So I'm learning about business, and then one of my artist friends told me, who's been an artist in this area, Monterey Carmel area, for many many years, and she said, in this area, three things that sells: landscape of this area, seascape, and sea otters. So I said, I have some landscapes and seascapes, and yes, they do sell, but they're not my passion. So I'll give sea otters a shot. So I painted about 5 otters, and they sold quickly. So I thought, oh, this is great, but I don't see myself doing it forever. And then that's when another universe's signal. So sea otter researcher who loved my sea otter commissioned me to do this scream Edward Munch or Monk, depends on
Yeah.
who
Yeah.
you say.
I'm not sure
And
either.
so the screen painting with the red sky, with kind of a desperate human being is screaming, holding
Yeah.
his head. But she specifically said, I'm a sea otter researcher. Can you replace the human head with a sea otter? So I said, well, no problem. That seems like a fun project. So I did that. And then I just loved the concept, but kind of vaguely. I just love it so much. And of course, my client loved it. And that's when I had a conversation with my art business coach. And he's been kind of frustrated. Eddie, you can paint different things, but you don't have a niche. In order to be an artist, you need a niche. So what has traction these days? So I thought, well, sea otters have some traction. I sold all my sea otters. And I just had this awesome, cool commission that I did, sea otter in the screaming painting. And he said, I think that is it. You can do Mona Lisa, you can do American Gothic. And we had this amazing brainstorm session together. Oh, yeah, we can do the Venus, we can do Van Gogh, we can do Dali, blah, blah, blah. So we had a great time with all the possibilities. And also, that's about the time I opened a gallery. Just, that's another leap of faith. I opened a gallery and put those first 5 other in masterpieces. And right away, people started coming in, stop, laugh, coming in and get my others. And what impressed me the most is, people just laugh instantly and come in and happy. They get happy. So the first 2 years, after I resigned, trying to be an artist, but I had another dilemma besides financial difficulties. But I thought, I'm not helping people anymore, so that's not very fulfilling. But when I did my other, people come in happy and leave happier. So I thought, no, I think this is healing. I think I'm making people happy. So this is therapy. So I think that maybe the second month that I opened my gallery, I put the sign, Otter Therapy. If you're smiling, it's working. And people come in, yeah, it's working. I need more therapy. So it just became a thing in my galleries. I have Otter Therapy all over the place, and people come in. Yeah, so yeah, and people comment something like, "Oh, I didn't know I needed Otter Therapy today. I really needed it." So that's how it started, and so just power of healing, using art, humor, and also people
Mhm.
love something really cute. Others are known to be really adorable, so a lot of people go, "Oh, they're so cute." So I think this is a trifactor of art, humor, and something adorable. So that seems to be quite healing. And because I did this healing art through the National Academy of Medicine, I've done quite a bit of research about healing power of art, using reciting different research papers that was done. A lot of cancer patients using art to kind of as a diversion, as a community event, to raise self-esteem, and physiologically it's really helping, lower blood pressure, lower breathing rate, and lower cortisol levels. And actually, it is proven to be healing, using art and humor. So, at the beginning, it was sort of a joke, Otter Therapy, because I'm a nurse. But I think it really, backed up by the science of, healing art. So I just use that, and I've done quite a few talks about healing art for healthcare professionals. No, that's before I retired, but yeah, I did that grand rounds or did a conference for nurses. So yeah, so I just can continue to do my therapy healing, with the spirits of Mother Teresa to help people, serving people, healing people. So it's just kind of coming full circle, just a different doorway, but I'm using art to help serve and make people happy.
I love that. And I would imagine, and I don't know if this is true, but I would think that a lot of different healthcare, practitioners should want to. I would think it would be a perfect place to, like, get a couple of your pieces and put it up in the waiting room. So if, when
Yeah.
people are coming in, it lightens, because sometimes, you can be so stressed when you have to go to the doctor or you don't feel good. And to be able to do that, I think it starts the healing process right there. Have you
Yeah,
found that?
that's a great idea. Yeah, I have some book samples in some dental offices, and
Mm.
actually, yeah, dental or oral surgeons bought a whole
Ooh.
bunch and put it in their dental office. So yeah,
Mhm.
at least, yeah, some people started to notice my, other therapy and started to use that. Most of people are using at this point. Most of people are using for themselves,
Yeah, sure,
like
sure.
people who are living alone, like I have, in
Mm.
Cambodia there are a lot of retired population and more women, of course, than men, because women
Right.
tend to live longer. So a lot of women who are older, women live alone, and they buy my otter, and they may not even buy my art. They might take my postcard or business card. I have cute business cards with otter faces too. So they just have it on the refrigerator, on the wall, and that, they come back and tell me, "Your otter is making me smile. I don't feel so alone. Your otter is keeping me company." Or even some people who had a surgery and having a lot of pain after the surgery says something like, "Your otter is keeping me company and make me smile. So that's helping me cope with my pain and loneliness and hardship and frustration." So
Mhm.
that's the delightful testimonial to my other therapist healing power.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'm sure it makes you feel good to know that, uh, that you're bringing healing to people. So you're still actually working. You're an artist practitioner instead of a nurse practitioner, I think.
Thank
Or an
you.
otter practitioner.
Thank you. Other therapist.
Yes, exactly. Otter therapist. I love it. Now, you mentioned a couple of times, you talk about, that Mother Teresa was a big influence in
Mhm.
your life. So how, um, I guess, how is her spirit, or what does her spirit even really mean to you, now, as you are, continuing your journey and becoming an artist? Um, talk a little bit more about what that really, how she has affected you, and in your work as an artist.
Okay, sure. Let's see. So I mentioned a little bit, but when I read the book about her, what impressed me was more about her courage,
Mm.
that she was a nun. She had a calling. She heard the voice of God. She should be a nun. And so she went to, yeah, she became a nun, and she was assigned, she's from Albania, but she was assigned to go to Calcutta and teach in Catholic school. So she was a teacher. Again, she had kind of a steady job teaching children, and which she loved. And that was a secure job inside the school system. But then she had another calling. And she just wanted to go out and help people, and she did that. So she left the security of the whole system, school system, all by herself, very little money, and she went out and did it and made it into this international movement. So I thought that it's so cool. The main thing was her courage to do what she believed to be the right thing or what she wanted to do. So that's the major influence on me. Because my first 30 years, no, I left nursing, but and it was what I wanted to do. But as I mentioned, it kind of I became disillusioned. So I just realized, okay, this is not what I wanted to do for the rest of my life anymore. So just no, with her spirit, and okay, what do I want to do? That's when I encountered this. The concept of ikigai, it's a Japanese word for life's purpose. So it's
Mhm.
something that you are good at. So it's like a Venn diagram. So there's something you are good at, and then another circle will be something you love to do, and then the world needs, and then you can make a living. So something that you love, that you are good at, you can make a living because the world needs it, and then just this kind of humorous art that make people happy is the center, this overlapping area. So okay, so I thought this is my calling, but opening a gallery is a big deal. And
Mm.
in Carmel, there are like 80 galleries. So talk about competition and the high rent. So I just gave myself 1 year, and I had some saving. So it's unlike Mother Teresa, she only had like a 50 cents. So I did have some capital that I can invest in myself. And but I gave myself 1 year, sink or swim, because there are so many other galleries out there,
Mhm.
and I don't know anything about business. So we'll see what happens. But I did not want to not do it. So
Mm.
when I had this gallery opportunity, first I didn't want to do it, but then I thought if I don't do it now, I'm not getting any younger. So if I don't do it now, probably I'd never do it. So I just thought I'll give it a shot and see what happens. And yeah, so that's her spirit that kind of carried me.
Mhm.
Like, do what you want to do in life and see what happens. And I just unfolded, and I got some help from different sources. And here I am, 2 years plus, and the gallery is thriving. My otters are thriving. So I'm so glad I did.
Oh, that's good. Yeah,
Mhm.
congratulations, because it's definitely not an easy thing to be able to start a brick and mortar thing. And as you said, there's lots of competition out there. Was there ever a time and that in the process, like even getting ready to open it, or maybe even that first year, where you maybe had maybe that courage that you you were channeling from Mother Teresa maybe left you a little bit, and you're like, have I really made the right decision? And if so, then how were you able to overcome that?
I Yes, that still happens from time to time. Like on certain month, I
Mm.
don't make enough money, or some of the commissions fell through. So things happens, but that's, I think, a part of the my success is all about mindset, because I also have a mindset coach that I've been following for years. And not just one coach, but there are other business coaches that I found. They're not so much about strategies, but about shifting the mindset. Basically, believe in yourself, believe in your products, and just tell yourself, you can do it. I can do it. So and now I still do affirmations, I read things, journal. So I'll do all that work. The first 2 hours pretty much every day I'm doing that type of work and affirmation and reading something type of thing. So continuously I'm trying to designing. Well, yeah. So I'm just really creating my life designing, and then that starts with that thinking. I'm designing how I think, and also how I feel. So I'm just purposely directing myself in that direction. So whenever something seemingly negative thing, I'm kind of getting much better at catching it. I still feel overwhelmed sometimes, or like, oh, another thing I have to do. Oh, I have to take care of this thing. Oh, there's another extra expense. That happens all the time, but I'm better at catching it. And
Mm-hmm.
when I'm feeling slightly negative, I catch it, and then I have this kind of a positive, replaced with a positive thinking. There's
Mm-hmm.
always something positive come out of this. So this is a learning process. Everything, it's a cliche, but everything happens for a reason, and I don't really believe in failure unless you stop it right there. So failure or something's not working out, just the opportunity to do something different, think
Mm-hmm.
differently, or yeah, like a resigning from the hospital was the best thing that happened to me in a way. So something fall throughs or something doesn't, yeah, go the way I no little me wants to do it, but there's a
Mm-hmm.
little bigger picture, a much bigger picture, and I can kind of take myself out of that little me and then try to see the big picture, and something good is going to happen out of this. If not, I am learning something from this one, so I just apply
Mm-hmm.
to the next step. So
Absolutely. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. That's the same thing that I tell people all the time. And
yeah,
is that, yeah, it's stuff is going to happen, but you've got to be able to have that resilience, which
mm-hmm,
you have. And it starts with the mindset,
mm-hmm,
because you can be, I really think that's the key to being successful in anything you do, whether it's in business or anything in your personal life. It starts with deciding, number
mm-hmm,
one, choosing how do I want to be in this moment, and saying, I I'm going to make this work, and stuff still happens, and you have to deal with it. But I love that.
mm-hmm.
I think the other thing that you mentioned earlier on, which I thought was good too, is that you did set yourself a goal of, like, I'm going to, let's see, do this for 1 year and see what happens. And I think
Mm-hmm.
that's important too, to set yourself a little a goal, so that
Mm-hmm.
you can, because if you don't have, what do they say, if you don't have a goal, then you're not shooting at anything. It's like, you're not, there's no way you're going to make anything. But if you at least have
Right.
that, I think
Mm-hmm.
that's important. So that's so
Mm-hmm.
cool.
Yeah.
um if a woman listening to this right now is, has maybe a creative dream that they've never given themselves permission to pursue, and thinks perhaps it's too late, what would you advise her? What do you want her to know?
I have people coming in here every day from all over the world, but maybe half the people from California, Northern California, Silicon Valley people, a lot of IT people, worker bees, and they may not be necessarily happy. And
Mm,
then because they come in and see this joyful others, joyful art, they say, "Oh, I wish I could do that." Or I used to love painting. Or I used to love drawing. I used to love playing music. So I get that glimpse of the artist in everybody, just about everybody. And I really encourage them. This was not something I planned to do all my life. I wasn't even drawing or painting when I was 40, even close to 45. I wasn't doing this. And that you just never know. So, what I tell people would be, just remember what you really loved doing when you were little. And,
mm,
or even now, just you enjoy that, whatever that gives you joy. So that's one thing, they may want to sit down and think about. And again, the ikigai, what you are good at, what you love to do. And so think about life's purpose, And another quote I often use is Wayne Dyer's, "Don't die with your music still in you." So,
Mm.
well, I qualified to be on this podcast because I'm over 50. So whatever, younger people might still have lots of years left, but don't die with your music, your art, your whatever creation could be, cooking or gardening or whatever your creativity. Don't die without expressing that. And you don't have to quit your day job right now, because you need a little planning, and it's nice to have a little saving and little capital to start business. If you're going to start a business or being an artist, you need a little capital, little saving. So don't give up on them, and then just nurture them, because I nurtured painting for about 15 years before I even thought about being an artist. So it could be just a hobby, but it's just good for your psyche. We talked about healing power of art. It's not only visual art, it could be dancing, performing art, music, anything, cooking, poetry, writing books, any of that. So I just tell people, don't give up, keep doing it, just on the weekend, or it could be 5 minutes a day, but keep doing it. It's healing for you, it's nurturing your soul. So don't give up. And there is a time, if the person is receptive, I say, yeah, the universe will give you a sign. So you'll
Mhm.
know when it's time for you to go full time, or to start a business or whatever. So yeah, keep doing that. So
Yeah.
that's one of the message I tell. I get to tell that to a lot of people here. So it's wonderful to have the opportunity to encourage young people, or not so young
Yeah.
people.
Yeah, absolutely. You mentioned, because you did mention that you're near like Silicon Valley, and AI is all the talk about right now. So,
Mhm.
what are your thoughts on that? Especially because they're using it to create art. What's your feelings about that?
I'm I use AI all the time myself for different things, marketings and my Instagram posts, but the visual is 100% my hand painted
Mm,
art, and I believe it's here to stay, because I think a lot of people buy my art because of my story. And people who come into my gallery, they're my captive audience, so they listen to my story a lot. And how, and they do see I still have a healthcare series and part of my gallery. So a lot of people
mm,
wonder, why do you have so many doctors and nurses on the wall? So then okay, let me tell you about my healthcare to art transition. And I don't force them to listen to me, but a lot of people are interested in the transition, because it's such a you know 180-degree transition. So I talk about that, and then talk about, everybody asks me why others, so we talk about others. And they get inspired, and so I think partially they buy my story, and why I got to paint this one, and why I paint this. And so I think a lot of people, sometimes, uh, other artist examples, there are some artists who are not as skilled, but they might be selling really well, and that's, again, people are buying their stories. Sometimes I heard about, I don't know personally, but I know some painters who paint abstract and put uh, like something, the title that's related to Bible, the verse John 23rd or whatever,
mhm,
and then people buy that because of that. So because they know the story behind it,
mm,
so there's a human behind it who's painting these others. And then she used to be a nurse, and this is a healing thing. So, but the AI doesn't have the story, the human behind it. So people collect art because they like the human, they like to follow the story. So in that sense, I think human art is here to stay. So I'm not too worried about that part. And people can make other face replaced with this girl with a pearl earring. They can do that, but it's not the same.
that's
That
true.
I
Yeah.
painted, by hand. So
Exactly. Yeah.
yeah.
I think that's an important point. And
Mm-hmm.
I do agree with you, is that I I mean, I have a friend who likes creating music through AI, um, and there's a place for that, but sometimes I still like the idea of it being yourself, and I think no matter what, there's people, as you say, people are responding to you. They're responding
Mm-hmm.
to your story, and and it's, if you had two of these pictures side by side, I think you're still going to feel your spirit, because it's your spirit that gets put into that picture, because that's what created it, as opposed to a just machine creating it. And
Mm-hmm.
there's still no soul in that machine, and we have one. So I think I agree with you. Art that's created by humans are still going to be needed and
Mm-hmm.
wanted, and the other is fine for quick stuff, but not for something to hang on your wall. You're going to want something that someone else created. So that's
Yeah.
cool. Um, is there anything else that I didn't ask you about? Any other last point as we're wrapping up here today that you want to leave our audience with, that they should know about? You know,
Let's see. One thing I was gonna mention earlier um, is I create community in my gallery. Although this is a gallery, but I gather people at least once a month when I have time, more than once a month, and I call this Carmel Bohemian Club.
mm,
And so, as I mentioned, I encourage a lot of amateur artists or wannabe artists or whatever the art might be. So I gather people, community people, once a month, and they could be a blogger, writer. It could be environmentalist. It doesn't have to be an artist. Photographer, filmmaker, dancer, sound healer. I have so many different amazing people here. So, and then I have them show their stuff. Depends on the day. Sometimes they have 2 minutes each person, or sometimes they have 5 minutes, or sometimes I feature certain artists and they can talk about 20 minutes or even longer. So I just provide opportunity for kind of hidden artists, emerging artists to have an opportunity, safe place, an opportunity to share their art, their gift, their poetry with 20, 30 other people. And then we have this thing at the end of their presentation, everybody gets a whoosh, meaning we get 1, 2, 3, whoosh. So we give the heart energy, love energy. So everybody gets that, and that receiving end, they feel this energy of all the whoosh from everybody, so they receive
mm,
it. And so I've been doing this ever since I opened the gallery. So I have maybe 120 people on my mailing list, about 30 would come here. So I think that the point is that the community, so don't do this alone.
mm.
Find a group or find a like-minded people. Could be only one another person, could be a few girlfriends get together, talk about book or art, music, painting, or starting a business. So don't do it alone. Just find this like-minded person and share your dream and encourage each other. And I don't want to say wait for the sign, but you would know when it's time. So something will tell you through somebody, like hey, there's a studio open over there, or somebody's looking for a musician or something like that. So, and then take the opportunity and do it if that's something that comes from your heart. So I think I'm the example. I just never thought this is possible. I'm really living my dream. I live in Carmel. I have an art gallery in Carmel. I paint all day, every day. I talk to the people from all over the world, and they love my art. It's yeah. What else do I want? Nothing. I got everything I want.
Oh, it certainly sounds that way, and
Yeah.
I I I love we may have had a slight little gap there. My internet was not playing nice there, so we froze a
Okay.
little bit, but hopefully
Okay.
it's okay. But I love when you were talking about community, because I actually did an episode not too long ago where I talked exactly about that, how
Okay.
important it is for us to have
Mhm.
community. So I'm
Mhm.
so glad you mentioned that. So if someone wants to learn more about you and they want to be able to see more of your art and maybe buy some of it themselves, where can people go to connect with you?
Okay, the main thing is edimatsumoto.com. So it's my name. So the edimatsumoto.com, EDIMATSUMOTO. And also, if you want to email me, you can go to edimatsumoto.com. My book is available at bookstores or Amazon. You can put in Otter Therapy. I think I'm the only person, but there are lots of other books, but you can put in Otter Therapy by Edi or Edi Matsumoto, so you can get my book there. And on my website, as soon as go to edimatsumoto.com, all the otters, about 50 otters, maybe more, you can see all of them. And whenever you don't have to buy anything, you can buy all kinds of things from t-shirts to stickers to yoga mats. But you can just look at them. If you need a little chuckle, little, kind of pick me up and have fun.
Absolutely. I love that. Well, thank you
Mhm.
so much for sharing some of your otter joy with us today. and
Love that.
and it truly is, yeah, humor, heart, and
Yes.
I love it. It's a great combination for healing. So it's so
Yes.
perfect. So thank you so much for being with us. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Thank
It was
you. And
great.
yes, and I do want to thank all of you for joining us today. And I hope you've been inspired to be creative, and it doesn't even have to be necessarily to totally change your life using art, but maybe right now it's a good way to help you to uh, possibly come up with some new ideas for how you want to design your life, because when you engage in that creative process, whether it is drawing or painting or writing or gardening or cooking, it's amazing what can come up for you when you do that. So I encourage you to yeah, do something creative this week. And until I see you again next time, I just would also encourage you to just go out and live boldly and on purpose.